buddy.
Hi, friends. Well, from swelteringly hot Salt Lake City, Utah,
It's Thank God I'm Atheist.
the podcast.
I'm Frank Feldman.
And I'm Dan Beecher.
And coming up on the show today, Dan, that wacky Bible and its many translations.
When will it learn that Bible? Oh, what a piece of work that is.
Yeah.
Yeah, it starts out in lots of different languages. It's not even consistent in its original form.
No.
But by the time it makes it to English and, I assume other languages, some choices have been made. Let's just put it that way.
Yeah.
You don't just translate a language into another language. You make choices.
That's true.
And when it comes to holy texts, those choices have consequences.
Yeah.
So,
we're going to talk about it. And
Yeah.
some recent changes that, specifically that the Evangelicals have done. But we're going to talk about some other stuff too. So.
yeah, they're pretty cute, those evangelicals.
Well, Dan, here's a kind of story that just doesn't come along often enough. Although, in one way, it's good that it's not coming along very often because it's another one of these Jesus takes the wheel sort of stories.
That's always bad.
Yes. But it's delightful at the same time,
Hooray.
right? Somebody testing their own faith, right? Testing God and their own faith to find out that, he didn't take the wheel. You might have believed he was going to, but that's why you crashed, right?
Yeah.
So anyway, recently in Ohio, the incident happened just a little over a month ago, but she was just recently has officially been charged for traveling along at excessive speeds, more than 100 miles per hour, speeding through a red light. And I watched the video, just ever so clipping the front of a car that was going through the intersection.
Oh my God.
The car that she hits stays stationary, right?
Okay.
And because it really just like took the bumper off, like she just grazed it, right? But she loses control of the car.
Yeah.
Spins around numerous times, keeps going. Goes through hits a power, like an electrical pole, right? Thing, a utility pole. She hits another car. And rams into a house.
Now,
at the end
I'm
of it.
going to take issue with something.
Miles an hour.
I'm going to take issue with something that you just said. You said she lost control of the car. I maintain she never had control of the car.
Fair enough. You're correct. She did not. She was not in control of the car.
I'm also mad that you haven't sent me this video, by the way.
Well, I can't
You can't spoil it.
I can't spoil the story for you. You don't know about this, right? This is fun. I'm telling you something you haven't heard yet.
It's true.
Anyway, she when the police showed up, she explains that she's been going through some trials and tribulations and was recently fired from her job. She said she let go and let God take the wheel. I forgot this detail. With her 11-year-old daughter sitting next to her.
Fuck.
Okay.
You ruined it. I was having so much fun. And then you ruined it for me. Oh, God damn it.
Can you fucking believe it, right? And she says that she still believes that she did the right thing.
Oh my God.
She's facing multiple charges, including felony assault, endangering a child. Yes, thank you.
Yeah.
And driving under suspension.
Oh.
Which the article doesn't explain what she's been suspended, her license has been suspended for. I would assume also some other form of lunacy.
Yeah, I figure we're all pretty shocked that she's ever had her license suspended before. Because she seemed like such a responsible driver otherwise.
Yeah, I mean, everyone was fine, right? Somehow everybody came out of this completely unscathed.
I'm not
And
fine.
maybe that's the miracle, Dan. No, like nobody in the house was hurt,
Wow.
right? She and the daughter, they're fine. The person in the car that they hit,
Her daughter is
that
not
God
fine.
hit. I'm sorry, the car that God hit,
That's right.
and then lost control.
I'm going to say this. Her kid is not fine. Her kid just witnessed her own mother caring so little about her own personal safety that she ran her car
Yeah.
into that daughter will be going to paying a therapist boat off on that.
I would be willing to wager that the child probably already was not fine. And I don't mean that as a joke. I mean that in all seriousness.
This is just
This
one in a
woman
long line.
raising this child. The child's not fine. Right.
That kid's not going to be
And I,
okay.
of course, was talking about physically. They came out physically unharmed.
Right.
Yeah. But anyway, yeah, you're totally right to point that out. And poor dear. Like anyone can have a kid, I guess.
It's crazy. That is that we need to adjust that rule. That is not okay. You can't just let anybody do it.
You should have to be able to turn it on, right? That's the CRISPR thing they need to introduce, right?
Just
that you have to get it like a parenting license and have your reproductive organs turned back on.
good Lord. We are.
I'm not actually advocating.
We are not
that.
on safe
I am
footing
not
when we say these
advocating
things.
that. That was. I
kidding.
mean, I kind of wish it, but I know it's not like.
Yeah,
You can't.
You can't do it in a way that doesn't inherently bias and blah blah blah.
Right. That's not some dystopic novel out there somewhere.
But you should at least have to take a class or something.
Yeah,
just
yeah.
something.
Yeah, fair enough.
Okay. Well, I'm gonna. I reported a few weeks ago about the Southern Baptist Convention and how they got themselves a brand new president who wasn't the furthest right guy on the docket.
Mm-hmm.
He was just extreme right, not all the way to Nazi.
Right.
So that was a big win for the country. However, here's a thing that I didn't. In my mind, they were being smarter than they were, and I don't know how I actually went to that place. Because I know these people, they're not smart. Why would I possibly think that they would have taken any COVID precautions?
Oh.
Because they didn't. And there were 15,000 people descended on Nashville, Tennessee. And they didn't take any COVID precautions. And there was a breakout of COVID. We do not know the scope of this at all.
Really?
What we know is that Metro Health epidemiologist Leslie Waller from there in Tennessee knows of 8 to 10 infections. And that almost certainly means that hundreds of people were probably infected.
Yeah.
The 8 to 10 infections are all people. They were all locals because they can only track locals. They can't track anybody from outside of that area.
Oh, geez. Yeah. Which
so
most of them
literally-
were from outside of the area.
Yeah, most of the attendees, the vast majority of the attendees, were not in the sample set. So we don't know how extreme this was, but we do know that these are not people who are huge on vaccinations. These are not people who necessarily believe in COVID or conversely, they believe in it but think that they're bathed in Jesus' blood and maybe that will protect them. We know that these are the idiots of our country, and yeah. So there you go. For their part, the Southern Baptist Convention has not yet alerted attendees that maybe they were totally exposed to a deadly virus and probably should have, they didn't, send out anything. But they are working with city and state health officials to identify their next steps. So that's good.
Good. That sounds like
too late.
They're working on it.
Yeah. They'll figure it out in a month or two, what the next steps are.
Yes, in a timely manner. Just
yeah, exactly. Once everybody has thoroughly infected their grandmother, then they'll figure it out.
Well, good. All right, Dan.
Yes.
I'm sort of doing. I think all three of my stories have the theme of we haven't done one of these in a while. Stories.
Okay.
This is a story about alternative sort of burial options or alternatives to burial type end of life or post life options for what to do with dead bodies. What do you do with a dead body other than burying it or burning it up?
I know that when my dad was alive, his wishes were that I throw him to the wolves.
I think that's a great one. Right?
I didn't do that. Turns out there were legal implications to doing that. They would not give me his body.
Aww.
But tell me about this particular thing.
We've actually talked about this before while it was only legal in Washington State. And this is the one where they use natural, organic processes to break the body down and turn it into soil.
Yes.
Right? Which I think is just lovely. Right?
Amazing. And exactly what I want to have happen to my body.
Absolutely. Like this needs to catch on. It is legal now in 2 additional states, Colorado and Oregon. Have both adopted or have legalized it.
That's great.
Since we last talked about this on the show. And there are other states that are starting to line up they're at least discussing it and hopefully something will pass.
Other communist states.
Well, yeah, California and New York. It's not too surprising, I suppose. Yeah. But the company that first introduced the process is called Recompose.
Get it.
And it's been legal in Washington State since 2019. The process is described as it's known as natural organic reduction. And basically what they do is they place the body in a reusable vessel. They cover it with wood chips, and then they aerate it, right, for about 30 days. And this creates an environment for the microbes and some bacteria to transform the body into soil in as little as 30 days. And then the family can take the soil of that their loved one has become, and they can go, plant a flower in it, right? Do something like, I just
their loved one can be literally pushing up the daisies,
literally. And I just think it's, once you're dead, like who cares? It doesn't matter to me anymore because I don't exist. What happens to my body? But I like the idea of my body returning to nature and the whole thing about like being put in a coffin, your coffin is lowered down into a vault, right?
Yeah, here in the US, I don't know how it's done elsewhere, but in here, there are layers and layers between you and you're never going to make it back into nature.
Right. And if nothing else, this is a process whereby your matter just gets to be useful, right? Yeah. Gets to go back into the thing rather than, just sitting around in a vault for who knows how long that's going to take, right, to break down. And cremation is great. That's what I sort of had in mind until this came along.
But it's not. It doesn't make you useful.
It doesn't make you useful. And you know what? Not for nothing. They are burning gas, right, in order to break the body down into ashes. And, like in a world where we're trying to, reduce our carbon, output,
Right.
We don't need to be burning gas. So this is a great alternative. Well, what do you think the Catholic Church thinks of this?
What the hell? I mean, it's not like they're going to be thrilled about this. I'm going to guess that somebody raised a hissy fit about it.
Yeah. At least one group of Catholics, the Colorado Catholic Conference, is in opposition of the practice because the church teaches that the human body is sacred and the dignity of the human person is the foundation of a moral society. I don't know why that is in conflict with this new way of breaking down a human body. Like,
go dig up a body that's been dead for, I don't know, call it a month, and tell me how dignified it is.
And how sacred it is at that point, right? Like,
oh, look, that blob of goo is wearing clothes.
Yeah.
That's great.
like it's absolutely ludicrous. It's obviously people having weird, icky feelings about, anything other than traditional burial, which they already have icky enough feelings about, but they've somehow accepted, well, that's a thing. I can do that.
Yeah. It's utterly, it's stupid.
Yeah.
Like their whole thing, it's not like they've thought it through. It's not like they've actually, like, they want, they don't care what happens to a body. Like, if it were a problem to do this, then all of the bodies that have ever existed are problematic.
Yeah.
Because they've all done this.
They've decomposed.
If
right?
nothing else, like, why aren't they just realizing that if they believe that there was a creator God who made us and who created the order of nature on the earth, that God is the one who made those microbes that break us all down.
To eat our bodies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just shut up. Can the Catholics please just shut up? Oh yeah. Don't weigh in. They're just mad that nobody asked them. And
they would have been fine with it otherwise. Right.
Yeah, if somebody had asked them about it and been like, here's the thing, we think it's very respectful, blah, blah, blah. What do you think? And just like, they're just mad that nobody asked. All right. I'm going to take us to the EU.
Ooh.
Because
please, I need a good trip to Europe.
Oh my God, I want to go to Europe so bad.
Oh
European listeners, are you open yet? What's going on? What's travel looking like? I need to know.
Yeah, I've been vaccinated.
Yeah, if we're vaccinated, what's it looking like?
I'm more than willing to come and spend a little money in your country.
Yeah, we are ready. We are
ready.
Ready. Let us know. So the European Union has, of course, all of their member states have their own court system and obviously make their own laws, but there is a court of justice of the European Union. That's sort of an overarching thing.
Mm-hmm.
And this is a pretty big deal. When something goes all the way to the Court of Justice for the EU, that's no small shakes. Well, the thing that went there was two German women who are Muslim decided to wear headscarves in their workplace, and their employer asked them not to. And this, of course, set off a firestorm. Yeah. And they sued, and it went all the way up to the Court of Justice of the European Union. And the ruling has now come down. And I'm actually pretty surprised by it, but I shouldn't be, maybe. They ruled that employers may forbid the wearing of visible religious symbols.
Really?
Or political beliefs.
Oh.
So, when it comes to things like, a visible crucifix around the neck, or, a Star of David or whatever, that I understand, because it's not required by the religions.
Mm-hmm.
But a headscarf, now you're getting into something that is required by the religion, and it feels so fucking harmless to me that I'm really struggling with this one. I like. Now, mind
these
you,
are like office workers. Like, what's the context?
I think one of them works as a caretaker for people with special needs, and the other one is a salesperson and like cashier.
Wow. Okay.
Now
I don't see why that needs to be regulated by an employer.
Yeah, I don't either. And I think the court wanted to sort of make sure that there was a genuine need on the part of the employer, whatever the fuck that means. So they kind of sent that down to the member states to figure out.
Yeah, but I could see if maybe like they were hired as like hair models, right? like that. I feel like an employer could say, we hired you so that our beauticians could like fix up your hair and we take photos of your hair. But if you're wearing this hijab, it's kind of,
this is making it a little
it's
trickier.
Kind of yeah.
Can we put a wig over your hijab? Is that okay? No, I mean, I can see it. Like, for instance, we've talked about, I think it was in Quebec a few years back. There was a story about people wearing religious symbols as government employees that are public-facing government employees, and I can see that like it could be divisive. It could make people feel like they're not going to get a fair shake from their government. That makes sense to me. Like, there are ways in which this makes sense, but I feel like there's got to be carve-outs for things like a hijab or a Sikh's turban, or there are certain things that are just requirements of their religion, and as stupid as I think their religion might be,
right,
I fail to see the harm. So
yeah,
I don't know. I'm conflicted about it myself.
Yeah, I think it's part of the compromise that we all have to make living in pluralistic societies.
Yeah.
Right. Like, and I know that like, it's kind of, I kind of get where they're coming from, but I just feel like even in the context of a government office, like it's a secular, like you have a secular government and you don't want displays of religion. Well, okay, overt displays like you were talking, like crosses and sort of the optional things, I guess. Right. But like, again, part of that secular government that is I would hope the goal of that government is that we're all also out here getting along, right? And that we're all equal members of the same, society, right? And so like, I don't know. I don't, it feels like, I mean, okay, there's always that argument of like, well, you don't have to take the job, right? But that's also kind of not the point either.
Yeah,
so, I don't know. And that's kind of not a nice thing to say, I don't think, right? Like, we don't take the job. Well, great argument, right? Like,
yeah.
But
I find it tricky, and I don't think it's an easy question, which is obviously why it had to go all the way up to the top of the Court of Justice. I mean, if I'm an employer and I'm hiring public facing people, I don't want them to be displaying anything religious. I want all people to feel like they're walking into a neutral space. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I would probably want to say, probably don't wear crosses or whatever. But if I'm not allowed to say that, I'm fine, as long as it's not like, a t-shirt that's like, if you don't love Jesus, you're dead to me, or, whatever.
Right.
I don't know. Tricky.
Oh, my turn.
Yeah. You can just go anytime.
There are some new findings out about America and religion and how our religious populations are sort of rising and falling and all of that kind of stuff. This one out just this week, PRRI, that is, who is that? That's the Public Research
Institute. The Public Religion Research Institute.
That's what it is. Their 2020 Census of American Religion, which apparently has the 2020 survey had unprecedented county level data on religious identity and diversity in the United States. And I found this in the Salt Lake Tribune, so it does skew toward, the exciting Mormon numbers. And one of the things that, is not surprising is it mentions that the highest concentration of Latter-day Saints, Mormons, in counties with more than 10,000 residents is Utah County, which is where Provo is and Brigham Young University.
Yeah.
Dan, I want to play a little guessing game with you. What do you think the second highest concentration of Latter-day Saints is? Where do you think it is? You don't even have to know the county name, but like where
anywhere in the country?
Yeah.
Oh. After Provo.
After
Utah County.
Yeah. Where do you think it is?
Yeah.
This is exciting.
Well, here's the thing. You asking me means I should probably reject Utah. Because I would, of course, go to like Davis County or like Paiute County, some Daggett County. I don't know, some like small county in Utah. But I'm going to say
counties with more than 10,000 residents.
Okay,
that's also part of it. So it can't be teeny tiny.
Yeah, I'm going to go with an adjacent state, like Wyoming.
You think that's a county in Wyoming,
or Idaho or something?
Yeah, well, you're right about Idaho.
Oh, you're so disappointed.
Well, but you should be able to like narrow it in closer, which is, of course, it's where BYU Idaho is.
Oh, okay, in Rexburg area. Okay,
right? I was just sort of like taken aback that it was like outside of Utah. I guess.
I mean, I would have guessed Utah if you hadn't like set it up the way you did. So yeah.
Fair enough. Okay, sorry. Now here's a fun one. This is the rates at which membership of different religious groups, at what rate they have 4-year college degrees. Who do you think is the sort of the group with the highest concentration of 4-year degrees?
What are the possible groups?
Well, religious groups.
Just all the different,
all the various religious groups. Who do you think has the highest rate of college graduates? 4-year college graduates.
Hindu. I don't know.
You're right.
Really?
How did you get that?
I don't know. I just imagine all of my Indian friends and their overbearing parents yelling at them that they have to get a degree.
Mad. I'm so mad. 67% of Hindus have a 4-year college degree.
Okay.
Now the point of this list is, you know how Mormons kind of like to believe they're really highly educated, right? Unitarian Universalists is the next group at 59%. That makes sense to me.
Sure.
Jewish Americans at 58%.
Yeah.
Orthodox Christians 48%.
Oh.
White Catholics 42%.
Oh.
Right? And now we get to Mormons at 40% of Mormons.
Man. Come on,
so
Mormons.
I don't know what
get
that's
your
all
act together.
About. Yeah, go to school.
They even let their girls go sometimes, and it still didn't get over 50.
I know.
That's a shame.
And then there's some interesting things about sort of the ups and downs of the nuns, of which we belong, the NONESs,
yes,
which hit a high point at 26% in 2018
of total population.
Declined of the total American population. Okay. Yeah. But it's declined slightly to 23% in 2020.
Oh God! Which one of you bastards is praying because of COVID? Who turned back? Which one of you bastards is it?
Of course, the largest group to leave religious associations in the country was younger people. That's no surprise. We've talked a lot about that. In 1986, only 10% of those aged 18 to 29 identified as religiously unaffiliated. In 2016, that number had increased to 38%. Again, declined in 2020 to 36%.
Okay. Well, I mean, I think that this is a weird. We're in the weirdest of all possible timelines. So we'll see in a couple years if things mellow out after.
I wanted this to be the end. I just felt like the pandemic was going to be the end of it all. Right?
Well, I mean,
like people staying home from church, realizing how like great that is.
Yeah,
right?
I still think that might play out. I still think that we haven't seen how things are going to shake out yet. I still think that something about that might play out.
And then let's see, the proportion of white Christians in the country hit a low point in 2018 at 42%. It has rebounded slightly. It's up to 44%. Oh my God.
Yeah.
We don't need more white Christians in this country.
Yeah. Let's all make it our New Year's resolution to everybody go deconvert somebody. Get out there and no, don't do that. We don't need missionaries. Yeah. Just put your story on TikTok. Don't worry, it'll have the right effect. Anyway, we'll close it out with a video was released by the San Francisco Gay Men's Chorus, which is actually quite a famous chorus. They're a hell of a singing group.
Yeah, they're quite good.
It's like the Mormon Tabernacle Choir, only with a sense of humor and without ladies. Also without Mormons. So anyway, they released a song that was very obviously satirical. If you know anything, if you have any sense of humor and understand that things can be not literally what is being spoken, what is being said. I forgive people who may be on the autism spectrum from maybe not understanding that kind of thing, because that's hard for them. Great. Otherwise, if you have any degree of knowledge of how humor works,
right? This
song is very clearly about sort of religious dickhole attitudes about gay people.
Yeah.
The lyrics, it starts with, "You think we're sinful, you fight against our rights, you say we all lead lives you can't respect, but you're just frightened. You think we'll corrupt your kids if our agenda goes unchecked. Funny, just this once, you're correct." And then it goes on to say, "We'll convert your children. Happens bit by bit, quietly and subtly, and you will barely notice it. You can keep them from the disco, warn about San Francisco, make them wear pleated pants. We don't care. We'll convert your children. We'll make them tolerant and fair." That was their big threat. They're going to make your kids tolerant and fair.
No.
Well, apparently...
Not even threatening to turn them gay.
No.
Right. Not even that.
No.
Just tolerant.
Yeah.
I don't even like tolerance. I think tolerance is offensive, to be honest.
I hear you.
I want acceptance.
That's right. But anyway, that's the joke. There's a whole song. Not that I've heard this song, because they took it down basically within 24 hours of posting it, because the right caught on to it and ran with it.
Oh my God.
So the religious right, having no one who has any sense of humor in the entire group, all lost their goddamn minds. Assuming the obvious worst, radio host Todd Stearns had a quote that said, "The San Francisco Gay Men's Chorus is drawing national attention after they performed a music video vowing to convert children to their movement. I suppose you could say it's conversion therapy in reverse."
Oh, Jesus Christ.
Nope, can't say that. Yeah, that's not what you can say. At least he used the word "to their movement" rather than "to being gay."
Right.
And other articles, This one was from InfoWars, which
I'm sure this is going to be
their
good.
hot take is always going to be a good one. It says, the song is not shy about what the San Francisco Gay Men's Chorus hopes to accomplish, repeatedly singing, "We're coming for them. We're coming for your children." And then they go on to say, that's not creepy or pedophilic at all. No, it's not, actually. If you wanted to just sort of take everything in context, it's not that. They're coming to make your kids not be assholes like you are. That's what they're coming to do. Anyway, a whole lot of this happened. People spammed the shit out of their comments and whatever, and the gay men had to pull their funny song. Because
I don't think they should have.
Yeah, I mean, you can turn off comments, right? I don't know. The damage was apparently done, so I just get out in front of it, you guys. But anyway, there were threats. Apparently, there were some threatening comments, and so I think that they took it down out of an abundance of caution. For the safety of the men involved.
Yeah. Okay. Fair enough.
But still, you know what I mean? Like, a lot of those guys have been through worse than a few death threats from guys living in their mom's basement.
No, I'm sure. Yeah.
So,
but you're right about the whole no sense of humor thing. Like, all you have to do is drive through the South and like read business names off of buildings and be like, do they not hear it? Do they not hear that's weird or funny, or that there's a double entendre there? I mean, I remember Debbie's Christian Book and Tanning Salon was a place in Wagner, Oklahoma. I don't know if it's still there or not, but like,
I love that.
It's just like, how do you not get that that's like not right? Right?
Yeah.
And just they go around just like, well, yeah, this is, of course it's normal.
Yeah.
And the brains don't really work on that level
and let's be honest, probably a bunch of these people do get the joke, but they want to demonize these people, and so so they do the thing that they hate or at least they accuse the left of doing, which is they took it out of context. Right. So good on you guys. Yeah, well done. You guys, you did a great job, and you humorless, disingenuous assholes.
Yeah.
Well, if you're a humorless, disingenuous asshole, you can tell us about it by writing into us, podcast@thankgodimatheist.com.
I'd prefer I don't hear from you.
Okay, don't. If you're a humorless asshole, then it's a different address.
Don't email.
Yeah. Then write into infowars@infowars.com.
Or you can call and leave us a voicemail message. We would love to hear your voice. The telephone number is 424-666-8442. Stick around. We have some emails and some voicemail coming up right after this. Hey, Dan.
Yes.
Are
you going to tell me that miracles happen every day? I hope that's what you're going to tell me.
It's just miracles, Dan. Everything's really a miracle if you just think about it.
Fucking magnets. How do they work?
It's a miracle. Anyway, we've got a Christian prophet by the name of Dutch Sheets,
which you were convinced was a prank, and I was convinced was a sex act. So either way, it's definite. Like, one thing we can all agree on is that Dutch Sheets is not a human. That's not a person.
I thought it was when you short sheeted somebody, right? That's a Dutch Sheets.
And I'm pretty sure that if you give somebody Dutch Sheets, it involves fecal matter. But we'll just believe this guy that it's his name, and we will we'll listen to what he has to say, because he knows something we don't.
And it's God's timing, and he's now bringing this anointing, and signs and wonders are going to start following this quickly. I know of three situations personally of people that were raised from the dead by a doctor during COVID. One of those people went into the room after the person died with COVID. One of those people, the death certificate had already been signed. And this person was raised from the dead. Now, they can't talk about this because they could get in trouble, believe it or not, for doing this and for, talking about it. But I'm just saying this is beginning to happen, and we're just getting started.
Raised from the dead by a doctor.
By a doctor.
That's the line that stands out to me.
Honestly, look, if you're going to make something up, which you obviously are making this up, say it was by a pastor.
Because they can't come forward. Yeah.
Like, why? It's your lie. You can do whatever you want with it.
Well, but the doctor was in the room.
Yeah.
A pastor wouldn't be able to be there. Like, he's thought this one through.
He definitely has. He definitely has.
So like, oh yeah, of course, a good Christian doctor who performs medical procedures on someone.
I personally know.
Brings them back from the dead.
3 people.
What they probably heard was some doctor who was Christian, right? Talking about how they felt like the person's recovery was a miracle.
Right.
It was them coming back from the dead because everything looked like, they should have died or whatever. You know what I mean? That's a pretty easy one.
You give this guy way more credit than I do, because as far as I'm concerned, he just made up a story. He's just, I don't think it's based on anything. I don't think it has to be, like, there doesn't have to be any experience that he's drawing on.
Yeah.
He's just lying. He's just making some shit up.
I just like to think that, like, that people who sort of spread these little stories and whatnot, that they're not probably overtly outright lying. Right. There's some little kernel there. I think that's how a lot of this works, right? Is that these stories get spread around and embellished and turned into things that they weren't originally at all. It was a doctor, in my mind, the way that this starts is a doctor stating facts, but from a Christian perspective. And then it just turns into this doctor brought him back from the dead. And it's like, that's what I think.
Okay.
I don't have any evidence for that. That's just where I think that, like, it's like that telephone game.
Well, I'll tell you what. I'll tell you who also doesn't have any evidence. Dutch Sheets doesn't have any evidence.
That's
either.
true. Yes, that's absolutely true.
All right,
and he can't produce them.
Yeah,
because he doesn't know them, or like you're saying, they don't exist.
Yeah. So there you go. It's so easy when you don't have to actually back anything you say up with anybody with any kind of facts or anything.
Is that a dig at me?
Yeah, stop taking the easy road, Frank. So we had a couple people write into us and call into us. Charles wrote into us with a lovely email that I have had to edit heavily because just for time, just for us. But I hope I've captured the essence of what Charles is saying, because I think it's an interesting question. Charles said, "My name is Charles. I'm a 25-year-old transgender ex-Mormon. My purpose in writing this is to draw attention to the damage the church did to me, specifically in regards to the impact of serving a mission." Now, I'll just remind our listeners, you probably know about Mormon missionaries, but we're not just talking about a week or two in Haiti. We're talking about what is usually about a 2-year commitment that you make.
18 months to 2 years, right?
Yeah.
Is it still that?
Something like that.
Yeah.
So it's not messing around. Anyway, I'll go on. Charles says, "I'll spare you the details of the trauma and brainwashing I endured in the mission field. Suffice it to say, I was a dedicated missionary, stiffly adherent to all the rules. I lasted a year before the stress ground my psyche down to the nerves.
Yeah.
I was sent home early due to mental health concerns. I wish the story ended there. At the time, I thought it had, but as I've come to realize, that single year of my life would have a resounding and irreversible impact on my future." Now, at this point, Charles wrote a bunch of stuff about having been a great student in high school and then going to BYU and having, given up a scholarship to another school to go there, various mindfuckery. And then Charles goes on with, "Since then, I've escaped the cult. Congratulations. Being trans helps, Charles says. But to this day, I'm still feeling the ripples of that wasted time. After years of repairing my mental health, I still don't have a degree, nor am I particularly close to getting one. I'd love to try my hand at physics again, but it's been 7 years since I've taken any sort of math course. I don't remember how to do linear algebra, let alone calculus. College is expensive, and not only did I lose a perfectly good scholarship, but I also wasted thousands of dollars at a university founded on lies. At this point in my life, I need to work nearly full time to qualify for healthcare coverage. I don't know how I'll find the time, energy, or money for college. I can't shake the feeling that my life would have turned out differently had I not wasted time on that goddamn mission trip. I've worked hard to uproot the brainwashing the church instilled in me, but it's a different matter entirely to tackle the aftermath of the major life choices I made when I was still religious. That's a tricky one, Charles.
Yeah. I know.
Because things turned out differently than they would have. I mean, that's inevitably true. That's just a fact. You know.
Yeah.
Does that mean it would have been better? We don't know. And I think that's what you've got to hang your hat on, is that literally it is impossible to tell what would have happened, in your sliding doors, going back and doing it the other way sort of scenario.
Great Gwyneth Paltrow reference.
There you go. Everybody, you're welcome. Probably Charles doesn't even remember that movie, but that's okay.
Gosh, that's some tough stuff.
The truth, Charles.
Because my story is not Charles's story, but I get that of going and spending time at BYU.
Yeah.
It and it not being a good experience, and knowing that I needed to leave, then going and spending, and then having a gap. Mine was 18 months between going to the U. But the thing that's gone through my mind through the years is that I never wanted to go to BYU. BYU was never my pick when I was in high school. It just literally was not, I actively did not want to go to BYU. And since something happened on the mission and I just sent in my application, of course they took me. And so it's an easy line of thinking to be like, how would things have been different if I had gone to one of those other schools I'd considered, And so I get it. That's some brutal stuff. The only thing I can ever do is just focus on, I like my life right now,
Yeah. And
that's all I can do,
Yeah. It's impossible to know what would have happened. And I understand the impulse to let yourself be haunted by it.
Yeah.
But fight that impulse. Fight it with everything you've got. And realize that, looking back gives you nothing in this regard. Right. All it can do is hurt you. And that's not to say ignore your past. Your past is your past, and it's important. It's informative. It's instructive even. But to regret it and to be upset about it, that's just, look, if you start feeding that in yourself, trust me, your whole life will be regrets, because there will always be more questions that you have about what if I had done X instead of Y. And that is always going to be poison. So don't poison yourself. Just look at what you've got now and what you might want, and then find a future that, find a path that might lead you to something happy. And trust me, there are 1,000 paths to happiness. You don't have to, there's not just one. You know what I mean? There's if you missed out on physics, then that's okay. You can still be happy. If you missed out on, X or Y or Z, there's 1,000 different roads to happiness. You just have to make sure that, your mindset isn't stuck on one of the roads that you weren't able to take. Because as long as you're staring back at the road that you didn't get to take, you won't be looking at all the different roads that are ahead of you.
Yeah, that's true.
I'm not sure. Look, we're not philosophers. We're not psychologists.
I don't know, Dan. That sounded pretty good to me.
Okay, we'll go with that.
You could definitely put that on a T-shirt.
It does feel a little bit poster worthy, right? Like if I put that on a poster with a sunset and two paths or whatever.
Yeah, I'm a little kitten. There has to be a kitten.
I'm fucking Robert Frost over here with my two roads diverging in the woods or whatever. Anyway, yeah, I don't know if that was helpful, Charles, but keep up the good work. Sort yourself out. Go to therapy. All of the things that you've been through are real. The mental health struggles are legitimate and fine and great. So they're not great, but they're there. And it's totally okay to have mental health issues, but you gotta tend to them. You gotta tend to yourself. You're the only one that can. So seek whatever help you need and be proud of your work. All right. We had someone call into us, did we not?
We did. We have a fan of Rachel Held Evans.
Oh my!
Calling in. Now, if the name maybe rings a bell to you, maybe it means a lot to you. I don't know, but she was we brought her up on the show
a couple weeks ago.
Just a couple months ago, maybe.
I think it was like a month. I'm bad at time. Why would I ask? Why would I guess that?
So it was a few weeks ago.
Yeah,
we'll say. It was about some book.
It was about a children's book. A children's book that she has passed away. She is dead now. But while she was alive, she had written this book, and it was about it was for kids, and it was all of these different ways of conceiving of God. And in my estimation, they were all not helpful, completely unhelpful, dopey. I mean, it's not like God is something that you can actually get a decent conception of because it's a ridiculous and fictional concept. But we made fun of it. So that's where this voicemail picks up.
Hey guys, love the show. Just listened to a bit about Rachel Held Evans and felt like as someone who's kind of new to this just non-belief community who left fundamentalism in Oklahoma, call me Mike. She meant a lot to us. We grew up hating ourselves, and she was the first person for a lot of us to hear that it was okay to be who we were and to not take the Bible so literally like we'd been taught to. And I just wanted to encourage you to maybe listen a little just to get an idea, because she helped me out of the dark places I grew up in fundamentalist evangelicalism. Thanks. Just wanted to say I find her delightful. Thanks for the show. Bye.
Well, thanks, Mike, for calling in. We appreciate that.
Yeah.
And that's an interesting perspective. I know nothing about her. I haven't heard any of her stuff.
Yeah, me neither.
And I guess
I just thought the book was funny.
Yeah. But and frankly, any port in a storm, right? Like if she helped you when you were feeling like shit and she made you feel a little less like shit, I'm not going to be mad about that. She was still a believer, and she was still, when she's helping you feel a little bit better about being in a bad situation instead of helping you out of the bad situation. I'm not thrilled by it, but but
if it was helpful, good.
If it was helpful, if it made you feel like a worthwhile person when other people were making you feel not like that, great. You know what I mean? Look, we're not going to be mad about that, but I'm still going to make fun of her dumb book. That's just it's my job. There you go.
That's awesome.
Mark wrote into us to say, "Hi guys, I was searching Prime movies under fantasy and saw Passage to Zarahemla."
Oh dear God.
Not having any idea what it was, I watched it. About halfway in, when I heard the name Nephites, I nearly turned it off, but persisted. I'm shocked you made it that far in before you turned it off, to be honest. It was an insight into Mormon theology. I was pleased they didn't have black actors for the Lamanites. May have these backwards. No, you don't. You have it right. Weak cinema, but cute. I hadn't heard you discuss it, but it's from 2007. The background I have from listening to your shows helped me see what was happening. Thanks. I decided to read this one because what's funny is that Mark from the How to Heretic and I, as part of sort of in connection with this show, went on God Awful Movies a couple years ago. It's episode 112, and we made fun of Passage to Zarahemla. So, Mark, I would encourage you to go and listen to that. And that was an excuse for us to mention, which we neglected to mention last week, Frank.
Yeah,
that you and I went on God Awful Movies. That's another podcast that basically makes fun of horrible religious cinema. And we made fun of a movie last week, so go and check that out, everybody. If you haven't already, we had a good time.
And by no means actually watch the movie that we were
don't! Yeah, for the love of God, don't watch it. You might want to watch Passage to Zarahemla. It's so bad that it might, like, if you get a kick out of terrible film, that's a fun one. But do not watch Courageous, which is what we made fun of. We watched it so you don't have to. So anyway, I just want to mention that. Thanks for writing in, Mark. Do we have some folks to thank, Frank?
Dan, we do.
Woo!
We have 3 new patrons on Patreon.
Wonderful.
Very exciting. We have a new deacon by the name of Mike.
Well done, Mike.
So thank you,
job.
Mike. We have a new teacher by the name of Christine.
Thank you, Christine. Wonderful.
And we have a new priest by the name of Sarah.
Wow. And just to be clear, everybody, we give priesthood. We give magic powers out to our donors, to our patrons.
Dan, we are selling these priesthoods.
Yeah.
This is very important.
So you too can be can have all of the same magic powers that Frank and I had as teenagers in the Mormon church.
Oh yeah, good stuff here, folks.
Yeah.
And you can do that. You can join in by going to our website, thankgodimatheist.com, and clicking on the support tab. And that gives you a couple options as to how to support the show. Yeah. And we greatly appreciate it. We can't really do it without you. And Dan, we've got our top donors to thank. Our co-lords and saviors. That is so rare. Co-lords and saviors.
We're polytheists, you guys.
We've got Austin and Demonium. Woo! Thanks, guys. More show coming up. Hey, Dan.
Hey.
So, do you remember the Articles of Faith? The Mormon Articles of Faith?
I remember I remember a couple of them. Are you talking about like having them memorized?
Well, I don't remember which number it is, but one has come to mind that says something along the lines of, we believe the Book of Mormon to be the Word of God, something. And we also believe the Bible to be the Word of God insofar as it is translated correctly.
Yes. Ooh. Yes. This was the if you ever want a really bizarre set of things, go read the Mormon Articles of Faith, because it starts out really small. We believe in God, the Eternal Father, and in His Son Jesus Christ, and in the Holy Ghost. But by the end, it's like it has gone completely off the rails, and it's like if there is anything virtuous, lovely, or of good report, we seek after these things. It's very strange.
Yeah, I believe you're referring to Article 13, right?
I think so.
We believe in being honest, true, chaste, benevolent, virtuous, and in doing good to all men.
Yeah, it turns into the Boy Scout motto.
Indeed, we may say that we follow the admonition of Paul. We believe all things, we hope all things, we have many things, and hope to be able to endure all things. Yeah, and then it's if there's anything
What does
virtuous...
that even mean, we believe all things? What does that mean? You don't believe all things. You decidedly don't believe all things.
Yes, indeed. Anyway, that came to mind because we were talking, we want to talk about Bible translations, because there was an article that I saw this week and read a little bit of it. It was on Salon, if I remember right. And it's talking about how evangelicals have sort of been changing their Bible translation over the course of the last couple decades to omit the word slave, right? So they're taking out references to slavery and they're sort of watering it down. And so like originally it said slave, and then like 10 years later, they kind of changed the wording a little bit and they put slave down in the footnotes, right? And then eventually they even kicked that out. And so they've replaced it with the word bondservant, I think, something like that, which is just like bizarre.
They changed it to bellhop.
The idea being
it is now masters. You have to be kind to your chambermaid.
Tip your server. Which Christians don't do. They're bad at these things, right?
Right. Yeah, honestly, if they changed it to tip your server, it would probably do more good in the world than if they than the change that they made.
Diners, tip your servers.
That's right.
Yeah.
I like that.
And the idea being that, of course, the word slave brings up images of American slavery, right?
Yeah.
The slavery
it got such a bad rap.
Yeah, exactly. And so it's and nobody wants to think about that, right? Like, and so they're trying to also make this. They like to make a point that it's, but especially by changing to bondservant, which is that it's not really that slavery, right? That the Bible is fully okay with, right? Like it is Paul in the New Testament, right? That talks about, being good to your slaves and all of that, right?
Yeah. So slaves obey your masters. I think
slaves obey your masters,
quote.
And even like obeying bad masters, right?
Yeah. I don't think it makes it any better if the line is bondservants obey your masters. Like, how does that? You're not really improving it that much.
Well, but nonetheless, what this demonstrates is a willingness on the part of evangelicals to engage in what they hate about the left, which is changing the words that we use, right, in sort of a PC sort of way,
right,
in order to make things more palatable or whatever, right?
They're catering to the delicate sensibilities of blah blah blah,
right,
or
exactly.
something. Like
I think
that.
the headline on Salon actually referred to evangelical snowflakes change the
yeah,
because of course Salon is like, they're having some fun with this, but the article is actually really interesting, and it got us thinking about sort of just Bible translations in general.
Well, we come from a Mormon tradition, and look, the Mormon scriptures, other than the Bible itself, have a long history of also having been changed frequently and sort of with that kind of thing in mind, even though it started out in English. So like those changes are not translation issues. They are just like, ooh, this is not good. This is not working well for us. We need to change that.
And not for nothing, Joseph Smith actually took a stab at translating the Bible. He didn't translate anything. He just like decided to change a bunch of words.
Yeah.
Literally doing what these guys are doing, although they at least are going back to like the what was the Greek word? What was the what was the Aramaic word for whatever, right? Like although anyway.
Which is funny because when you start doing that, and I encourage it, I think it's great, I think it's important, but when you actually go back to the original Bible, in its original languages, a lot of the constructs that the modern Christian church like really embraces turn out not to even be there.
Oh, wow.
They're not there.
Right.
The concept of hell is not biblical.
Right.
That does not come from the Bible. There's, if you look at it, there's a word in the New Testament that is Gehenna, which is often translated as hell. And it says that the unbelievers will be sent to Gehenna. That was a place just outside of Jerusalem. That was a place where they would go and burn garbage. It was a garbage dump, and it was always on fire.
That explains the flames. Yeah.
Yeah. So they were like, yes, you'll go and burn in Gehenna, meaning we'll just chuck your body away and we won't give you a proper Jewish burial. And that will be a shame to you.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's all that was. So, yeah, like the concept of hell does not really appear if you're looking at the context and the original meaning of the words.
Yeah.
Of the Bible.
And let's face it, Dante played a serious role in forming like modern Christianity.
You want to talk about Dante? Not only did he invent hell, he invented the fucking devil. Because guess who else really isn't in the Bible?
Oh, right.
The devil's not in there. There's the adversary sometimes, which is a concept, not a person. It could be a person. Is there though? Because there's a lot of scholarship that's saying that Lucifer, the word just means bringer of light, and it often was a reference to Venus, the planet, which they thought was a star. But like Lucifer, they think it probably should be a lowercase l. Like, it's not really Lucifer. It's a metaphor.
Oh, well, who capitalized that?
Right? Yeah. Lucifer is, it's a concept that doesn't really belong as the devil. Like, morning star is what Lucifer means, or bringer of light. When you start to sort of deconstruct what these words actually meant, we're not talking about, people say that it was Satan that tempted Eve. That's not what the book says.
It was a serpent.
The book is clear. It was a serpent. And that's based on an old Babylonian myth that, they sort of hijacked and they retooled. But it's never Satan. You know what I mean? Like that was another concept that Dante Alighieri basically just sort of came up with out of his butt. That, there was a guy, so there was someone cast out of heaven. Dante said it was this Satan guy cast out of heaven, fell to earth so hard that he created a hole.
Oh, wow.
Which is what puts Satan below us.
Okay.
And then Satan is frozen in the lake in the middle of his 9 rings of hell, or however many it is. So then suddenly we have this idea that God is above us, Satan is below us. And we don't have I don't know. Did Dante have a sense that, we live on a ball, dude? We don't live... Anyway. The fact of the matter is that, a lot of the concepts in the Bible do not hold up when you start to look at accurate translations that have the context of the time.
Right.
Which is a game, by the way, that the pastors and the evangelicals love to play too, where they're like, when they talk about, things questions that we have, they're like, no, in the context, they like to explain away the slavery as being like, well, in the context of the time, it was a different thing and blah, blah, blah. And
no, it was slavery.
It was still slavery, dude.
Let's be clear. It was still people laboring,
but
who were owned and laboring without, compensation.
Yeah.
Right. And they couldn't just like leave because they were
right.
They didn't like the boss.
that they were supposed to be released after 7 years or whatever. That doesn't help your case, dude.
Right.
That's still a slave. The one that you're going to be happy about, Frank, is the mistranslation that throws the word homosexuality into the Bible. Because no. There's a word. Oh, what is the word? I'm not. Oh, it's a Greek word that Paul uses in Corinthians that is arsenokoitai. I don't know how to say it. It's Greek. But that is the word that is translated to homosexuality. Well, I think a lot of scholars, and I don't know if this is most scholars or just a lot of scholars, but a lot of scholars translate that to pedophilia. So it's not so like the big offense is not that a man is lying with another man, but that a man is lying with a boy.
Right.
That a man is having sex with a child.
Boy, they've just always confused homosexuality and pedophilia.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, they like to conflate those two things.
It's just a long-standing tradition.
It is indeed. So,
all right.
I mean, so a lot of biblical scholars are making strong cases that a strong case that homosexuality was never condemned in the Bible. Or at least not by Jesus.
Right.
So,
which is important, I guess.
Which is important.
I'm so glad that Jesus didn't. It would really sting if Jesus had said something about homosexuality.
If that probably fictional character
I don't know what I would have
was mean to the gays.
Thank you, Jesus.
I mean, the dude, read the Bible and tell me that this guy that hangs out with 12 other guys and has one woman friend, I think he's okay with the gays. I think that guy might be okay with the gays. He's going to the club every night.
Yeah. And Mary, probably a fag hag.
Yeah. Come on. Mary Magdalene was the funnest woman. She was done with
so funny. Oh my
toxic
God.
Masculinity, and so she just wanted to hang out with her gay friends.
Oh,
that's
God.
all.
She could down a Cosmo like you just
she was just fun. She just fun.
Love to
She'd
dance.
go out on the dance floor with all the guys. Simon Peter loved her. Anyway, look, if any of you folks are biblical scholars and would like to argue with us, that's fine. You can go ahead and do it. But let me tell you something. Grappling, you try to tell me, on How to Heretic, I've tackled a whole bunch of biblical stories, and I always have to go to like 12 different translations to try and figure out what the hell is going on. So good luck with the Bible. The Bible doesn't say what it says. I think that's the end point is that the Bible doesn't say what the Bible says. So don't worry about it. But if you disagree with that, feel free to write into us, podcast@thankgodimatheist.com.
Or call and leave us a voicemail message. The telephone number is 424-666-8442.
Yeah, hey, go to the Facebook page. Would you just, it's TGI Atheist. It's at TGI Atheist or Facebook.com/TGI Atheist. I don't know how any of this works. You can the Twitter is at TGI Atheist. Go follow that too.
And if you'd like to join one of our members only lounges, we've got 2 of them. Go to thankgodimatheist.com/members only. And there's a couple links there. One will take you to Facebook, and the other one will take you over to Discord.
Yeah. Hey, thanks so much to the Red Rock Hot Club for the use of their fine music.
And thanks to Gordon Johnston for the use of his music.
And thanks to all of y'all for tuning in. We sure do appreciate you.
Thanks, guys. Bye-bye.